report on today. Okay. I'm gonna start it. I mean, it is COVID. Anybody here, anybody take that over?
You're so kind.
We got all conversations right now about fishing and everything else, so I just was gonna wait.
We're done. It's warming up.
I'm waiting for the TV.
I'm just waiting for my wayward partner here.
Little TV stars,
Oh, we're so good.
Well,
Yeah.
that's because he knows I do everything to keep him looking like a rock star. He knows the way I roll.
Good morning. I guess happy tax day, April 15th. So way to start off on Monday. But anyways, welcome to our starting off here at the City of Pensacola. We had a great week last week, and I think we got a lot of good things happening this week as we head into an Easter week. But we have several things that will be happening all around here. I guess last week we had a great time with DPC and SPEC and all the groups that were in. There were several opportunities. I went both Thursday night and Tuesday night. I guess Tuesday night and Thursday night. I went to both of those sessions, and they were very good and informative. There were a lot of things that came out of that, and much like our transition plan, I'm sure over time we'll see a lot of those things happen. But again, it's going to take time. They're not going to happen all overnight, and we're going to continue to work with it. I thought it was a very interesting plan as we move forward. The ability to get some uniformity on how we want things to look, and I thought it was very interesting. Certainly, one of the things that was mentioned was how do we deal with some of the zoning and other abilities, characteristics. I thought it was interesting that they said, one of the great things that you have on Palafox is all that covered area on government with the wrought iron balconies and everything else. He said, and now you've made it's all illegal right now in your current code. So clearly we have things that we will want to do and want to change as we move forward on code. And I think we will see some of those things. I liked it. I thought it was great if we had some way to make sort of what we eventually see at the Maritime Park and the retail look like more like what we have on Palafox. Obviously, there was a lot of discussion about how we make Maine more presentable, more inviting to walk on. Clearly, probably from the city's perspective, the two most interesting things were looking at building buildings in our parking lot, as well as how do we deal with a couple of our streets and move forward. I think those are things. I don't see us moving on anything right now, but I certainly think as we move forward, we will see something maybe come up and look prospectively at changing the front parking lot or a variety of other things as we move forward. I thought the suggestion to go to more on-street side parking with Spring to narrow it down. It always amazes me. It's a significantly lengthy street without taking really that much traffic. Are there opportunities for us to do something like they said with angled parking, put more street side parking? We definitely will look at that going forward. We're still hoping to put in our first road diet on Palafox from Wright to Cervantes, and we're going to try to do that. But I certainly think something like that on Spring, something as well on Maine that was discussed even last week at a press conference. How do we deal with some of the challenges we've had with pedestrian crossings? And I think that will become more prevalent as we talk about some of the other things that happened this weekend with the ferry landing. We definitely need to make everything more walkable. But none of these things are happening overnight, and it's a process, but it is exciting to see the opportunities that sit in front of us. And again, we're going to be working as much as we can to make that happen. One of the things that happened this weekend, obviously the ferry and getting it going, and I think Friday the ferry starts. So you can begin to start taking trips on the ferry on Friday. One of that is we know that that's going to mean we have more people walking downtown, and we're working hard to make it more walkable. Again, last time we talked about positions that we have. As soon as we get that position hired and several other ones we're trying to get on staff, we're trying to move forward. But I do think there's going to be a lot for that person to do on walkability. Certainly, I think some of the things that came out of the SCAPE lesson, the spec thing that he mentioned about the width and how do we maybe figure out a way to narrow that down, and so we can slow cars down and make it a little bit easier to see pedestrians. So again, we're going to work on all those things, trying to figure out what's going to happen. So these are all some things that are happening downtown, but we have a lot of things happening across where we are. We continue to be looking to work with lighting solutions, certainly those in the north area and also on the west side. We also have several places that we want to continue to improve our walkability, both on the west side as well as in the north. So we have things moving. We will have a town hall meeting April 29th, which is 2 weeks from today, at Cokesbury with Sherry Myers. So our District 2 one is finally on the calendar. And I'm working on trying to get up, I see Brian in the back of the room. At some point I'm going to get together with his guys and go spend a day on our ball fields and do some other stuff. So I just got to get a day I can get out there and go do that. So we have a lot of exciting things happening here. I think as we transition into this week, we're going to see some other things. We have ST is coming in town today to discuss hangar number 2. So we will be doing that. We'll also be taking some calls. I know that we're working toward trying to get our person in to come do a John Street matter about our strategic plan and working our visioning process. I believe we've already started the surveys, haven't we? The employee engagement surveys. Have those gone out?
I think later in the week.
Okay, I know I did my video and I did my letter, so I was thinking that those were going out, and I saw some employees respond to the letter at least positively. So again, we are moving in those directions on several things that we promised and trying to get that engagement going. So there are several things that are happening related to our strategic planning side, and we will be doing that. Also this week, I'm talking with Scape in advance of them coming next week to talk about their 2 catalytic projects, where we'll be doing some discussions with them. And so I look forward to talking a little bit further with them as well. So I'm very excited about seeing them come forward. I guess lastly in all that, the Center for Civic Engagement, since they have engaged primarily Scape, we have the west part of it engaged, but I do want to congratulate the Center for Civic Engagement. It's my understanding their application for Strong Towns, Pensacola was awarded the winner of Strong Towns. So that was exciting as well, and I really appreciate the work the Center for Civic Engagement is doing. I think they're making us all better about understanding how we make a better community and we work together. So toward that end, that's what we will be continuing to do. I guess that's a little bit about a glimpse, other than the also Gulf Power's symposium is this week, and I will be over there. Wednesday, I will be in Sandestin. I will not be there Thursday, unfortunately, for the governors. We have a Silver Airlines. We'll be bringing in a new airline. I think you might have seen the press conference for that at the airport. They'll be bringing in one that they painted one of their jets blue Wahoos. So we will be unveiling that, I believe, on Thursday morning. Also, just a note here of this week, Friday the city will be closed, so please make sure you communicate out there that we'd really appreciate that if you'd help us get the word out that the city will be closed on Friday for Good Friday. So we will be closed, and we hope everyone has a great Easter weekend. I think we had a good egg hunt. I wasn't able to get out there. I was at the ferry landing, and then I was at a Civitan. Was at Seville Square, so I didn't get a chance to get out to the egg hunt, but I understood that Lauren was bringing some of the leftover donuts from the ferry event. So hopefully the leftover donuts and lemonade were well received. Well, good. That's sort of where we're going this week. We're happy to answer any questions. Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the, I guess, healthcare funding maneuvering that the city council discussed last week?
Okay, I'd be happy to. We still have to go one more meeting on that. The question is, what did we do last week with the measure in healthcare? As you know, the state of Florida has not chosen to take down all the money we could have, and I'm I'm not here to get in that argument one way or the other. What I'm saying is we have several indigent here that need care. And thank goodness we have two great hospitals in this community, both Baptist Healthcare and Sacred Heart Systems, that take care of the indigent. They came to us with a fairly creative way to bring some money back down to our community. I was willing to do it. I certainly know that Susan was the whole time we went through it, and she's very diligent about making sure everything we do is correct. But the city of Orlando has done it. They're the only people that have done it right now, and Pensacola would be second to do this same measure. What we've allowed them to do is to tax certain properties that are buildings here in Escambia in the city of Pensacola. So they will voluntarily take a tax, and the city will levy a tax against those properties. We'll take that money, and we will send that up to the federal government in hopes of bringing down, I believe it's 1.5 times. So they'll get back all the money they paid in tax, plus I believe it's 50% additional money that they'll bring down to take care of indigent. So again, this is enabling them to bring more money into the community to take care of indigent health care. As I said, right now Orlando is the only one other community that is doing this. We did something similar to this when I was at the county, so I was kind of familiar with it. It is a little unique, and we are sort of pushing the envelope on some things perhaps, but I think the only one that really would be complaining about it would be the hospitals, and they're the ones that came to us and were willing to do this. So we think it's a way to bring additional federal dollars back into our community to help indigent health care, and we're excited about the opportunity to do that.
Is it just Baptist and Sacred Heart?
Correct. It is only in the city. That's the only two hospitals we have in the city. We certainly enjoy our relationship with West Florida, but they aren't located in the city, so we'll be only. That's one of the reasons they came to us and wanted us to do it, because that way it could just be the two not-for-profit hospitals.
Does the county do something like that with West Florida, or?
The county had something at one time similar to this. The hospitals had also come to us. I don't know if they're still doing it. We had done this before, so I was at least familiar with the concept. But I know when they came to me, I told them I definitely wanted to help. I have a long history of working with community health. I still want to call it Escambia Community Clinics. I think they do a great job providing indigent health care. I'm familiar with both organizations intimately, and they're both really leaders in our community in job creation and certainly big parts of this community. So any way we can help, we were happy to help the city of Pensacola.
They were saying they already do, so much indigent care. Is this going to allow them to do more, or to fund the care they already do?
Again, I'm not. They're in the business to do it. I'm not sure if this is getting them help funds, but whatever it is, it's going to help us be able to do essentially more funding for the indigent health care. So, like I said before, a lot of other communities, have not done this necessarily. Orlando's right now the only one that has. We just implemented, and we will finish the mechanism by which I always get this wrong. We have not done the resolution. I think I might have jumped out a little bit and said it wrong, and Susan corrected me on Thursday. All we're doing right now is the mechanism that allows us to do it. We had our first reading Thursday. We do another one, not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And then at that time, we'll also do a resolution that will set forth the tax, and we'll begin moving forward on it. Yes.
Is it recurring? Does it sunset? How does it work?
Well, the good news about that, the mechanism just simply allows you to have the mechanism to go do it. The resolution will be an annual resolution. So if the federal government was to change how they would match, I'm sure the hospitals would change what they would want to do. So every year it allows us to come back and decide whether we want to do it again. My understanding for them to be able to get the match they need to get in, we need to have this ready and implemented by June. So we're hoping to give ourselves a month of leeway so we can work through anything we need to do and help them work through it. But again, I think this is just another example of ways that the city is willing to work in non-traditional ways to help our community. We've also reached out to those same health partners and asked them about participating with our community centers in a way to help us continue. I mean, Escambia Community Clinic does a great job, but there are probably some people that can't necessarily even get to the clinics or the hospitals. So if the opportunity, if people could walk to our community centers, we we're open to that. I will say also, I forgot one thing, but seeing Brian here reminded me. We've been approached by the arts community, and this is children's chorus primarily there. We had opera, symphony, ballet, West Florida, and the Pensacola Museum of Art. And while there was somebody that wasn't there, but they were totally in as well. So all really the arts groups that came to us, and they wanted to get involved in expanding arts. And we have Woodland Heights. We made a commitment to that. We had a community center there that was going to be an arts center, and we were going to be working with those arts groups to look at next year offering some type of opportunity for our citizens. And we certainly can Woodland Heights is set up for the arts. We want to do that. We made a commitment to that neighborhood, but we also believe there are other community centers, Cobb, Fricker, other ones that we can get those kids in from those centers and bring them to there and expose them to the arts. So it was kind of a win-win for us. We felt like, in our citizens. It was also something that the arts community really wanted to do. So we're looking probably in the fall, having an event at one of our at Woodland Heights. We're just trying to find a weekend right now that we can do it. We told them, and they told us the same thing. We said, well, we shoot for the fall. We're kind of busy right now, and we'll come out of the summer. We'll be ready to go. But they are excited about looking at that and trying to establish some classes for kids and exposure for kids in those, and really looking to enhance what we said we were going to do at Woodland Heights.
Can I go? I'm so sorry. I'm always the kid that couldn't keep up in algebra class. I want to go back to the hospitals for just a second. So,
Yeah.
So the tax would be levied specifically on the buildings owned by the hospitals.
Correct.
It goes to the city, and then through a matching mechanism at the federal level. How does that all?
Somehow or another, we're able to apply the money for health care and be able to bring down more money. I think we give it to the state for our community, and they're able to bring it back. I'm not sure on the mechanism on that. I could get with Susan, and I'll be happy if you have further questions. If you just get with
I'll
Allie,
shoot Allie an
and she can tell you where we go.
Thank you.
Well, we got all our good Baptists in the back there. They're all sitting in the back. How are you doing? Well, one of the greatest things, one of the great things we have, I want to talk about is our diplomacy council. They bring people from all over the world to Pensacola. Last week we had an opportunity to meet several Jordanians and discuss municipal government. They were involved in their local cities, and it was very good. We had several mayors and a few council members that we enjoyed meeting with, and it was really awesome for me. It was kind of funny. Now we have a group here coming to talk to us about transparency. Don, where are they from?
Tajikistan.
Okay.
If you hear some chatter in the back, it's because they're translating.
Okay. So if you have that, there's a translator in the back that's translating. They're from Tajikistan. I've been to Uzbekistan. I've been to Tashkent. So when I was probably 30 years ago, but had a good time. I was in college. Went there. But anyways, they're here to look at talk to us about transparency. So. It's great that we have visitors from all over the world that come to Pensacola, and this is one group again, another one. So I told them they could come in today, and would love to have them. So I appreciate y'all letting them be here. But we can get those answers for you from, like I said, I'm dangerous on the exacts. They give me about enough to know how it all works, and I'm willing to go. But I know that there's somewhere or another that we work with the Department of Health, and the whole idea is to get more money from Washington. And again, the only people that are having to pay this tax are Sacred and Baptist. They're the ones that are coming here and asking for it to be imposed, and they're going to end up being able to bring more money for indigent health care.
Do you have any idea how much money that will?
I don't have, because that's part of waiting for what the tax is gonna be, which will be the rate. We're waiting on Sacred and Baptist to give that to us. I'm sure by next Thursday, we should know that amount for the resolution, but we can certainly work with Susan to get that amount. I just don't have it in front of me. And I know it was not involved last Thursday because we're only doing the mechanism. The resolution will actually have the amount. Yes.
So we're kind of flush of big, long-term, exciting ideas right now. The port study, the master planning going on there. What's the next step for the city? I know codes and ordinances, revising those, but is there any, because a lot of this is going to be private development, you know, and so we're waiting on them. Things like artistics surrounding the tank farm, is that the kind of stuff that you're looking at to prepare the way? What are you thinking for next steps?
You know, I think some of that can happen. I think a lot of it will be dependent upon who is coming. But, you know, the interesting part to me is what I think happens, and this is what's exciting. I think part of the problem is we haven't done a very good job. We put dirt out there and we've said, come get it. But we really haven't said what you can do with it. And I think if you listened, you know, they were very clear that they didn't think one developer was going to develop all of it. Even they thought it'd be going very small sections. And I think that's the way we'll see it. I think the idea is to establish a vision of what it is. I think when you have that, you're going to see things begin to happen. I continue to hear more and more. There's more and more chatter about Pensacola everywhere. I was out Friday night because I think there was a little confusion as to whether gallery night was last Friday or this Friday. But apparently there were a lot of people out on Friday night, and I was down here also Saturday for the Gershwin event with the concert band at the center. I was amazed just how much energy there is on a weekend, just people being there, involved in a community and what's connected. There is a lot of chatter outside of Pensacola about Pensacola. I mean, certainly I think winning the strong towns, I think as we see things, I think there are people that will continue to drive a desire to be in Pensacola. Now the question is, I think, is that we're prepared for them to come here. I think we need to have a plan, and that's what we need to do. I thought this weekend's article about we want growth, but we want smart growth, the editorial in the paper this weekend about that, I think that's certainly something we want to achieve, and I think we can achieve it if we're planning for it correctly. So I think at this point, I think us getting the plans in place, us getting the public infrastructure in place, I do think us making downtown more walkable and making other areas of our community more walkable is going to be important. I know. I got seeing Derek back there. I got something from Sherry Myers talking about on Langley, what the guy was talking about, where we had the sidewalk crossing and it goes into a curb and then there's no sidewalk. So if you're handicapped, how do you deal with that? I mean, there's a lot of that improvement that we need to make, and those are the kind of things that we need to be involved with doing. But the only challenge is it would have been nice to have some of that gas tax money to do some of those improvements, but we'll keep making them with other things.
Take on the fence around the little White House.
Oh, we are gonna free the little White House. The little White House. I am working right now with Rob Overton over with UWF. That is going to happen. We do want to do some programming over there. I think there are several things that we can do to open it. I've told him we have a person who does our parks and rec, kind of like a park ranger, and they will be more than happy to get out there and close it up on every night and gate it. But we will free the tiny house. We will free the tiny house.
That wasn't always enclosed, was it? You used to be able to just walk up there.
You know, I think it's always been enclosed my whole life. I've never thought about it because it was one of those things when we were working with James Lima in DC, and I were walking with him, and he kind of said, he said, this is a great little thing. He said, why don't you have it open? And I was like, I don't know. It's just always been like that. And DC said the same thing. He was like, I don't know. My whole life it's been like that. I've never really questioned it. So, you know, sometimes that's why I think it's good having a fresh set of eyes on things that you know, you and I drive by and we see it every day and we don't think anything about the way it is. And when somebody says, why don't you just open it up? You go, I have no idea why we wouldn't open it up. I don't know why we wouldn't open it up. So we are going to free the little house.
So Studer got that for an 18-month lease. Beyond his personal, you know, whatever he chooses to do, does 3-month lease matters to anybody else? Is there any reason for anyone else to hurry?
I don't necessarily see anything one way or the other. I think the idea of the master lease was to begin to allow us the time to structure in elements that would set plans for the development, and I think you see some of that. I think if you listen to Marina the other day, I mean, she was very clear about that we perhaps need to change some things in our code, and they're going to bring back suggestions for us. So I do think that's going to happen. I do think at the end of it, I don't think Quint has any, or Studer Properties has any desire necessarily to design it. I think they want to make sure that we have good codes in place, so when it is developed and those parcels, you know, will be developed by a number of different people. But as he said, there are active hoteliers already looking. I mean, that already want to move in and do something. So I think some of the private development will happen. I think there's also, you know, I think Andrew, as he discussed, they did a lot of research. They're going to make that research public. I think that research clearly says there's more demand for housing in downtown. I don't know that the full build out, there's housing for that, so that's why I don't think you're going to see a full build. Like tomorrow we're going to snap our fingers and all the buildings are going to be there, and it's just not going to happen that fast. I think you're going to have a certain absorption rate that is going to occur, so you know it's not all going to be built at once.
We put up new signs for Graffiti Bridge. That's sort of the smallest possible step I think we can take towards remedying that. Is there more on the agenda coming?
I want to thank Derek. I know that they've been working on that. I think that the desire is perhaps something else that would, you know, that would signal it. We had several people talk about, you know, do we have a laser? Do we have something above it? I think some of those things will have to wait until we understand on the south end how it all functions going together. For right now, we believe the 10-foot clearance is what is important for especially those trucks, especially the longer trucks, that as they start going up 17th Avenue, it is not, if you are standing there, there's a clearance. But as you start to move up the hill, the clearance is different. And so we wanted to set that. Is there anything else, Derek, we're going to do at this point?
One thing I'd like to add is, and I've communicated this to the mayors, that FDOT, as part of the bridge project, is going to stop truck traffic on that short section of 17th Avenue. So that will be a permanent solution. So in the meantime, we're trying to find some additional solutions to go in there to get us to that point.
You said FDOT is going to prohibit truck traffic on 17th?
Yes, that section from south of Cervantes is truck traffic is going to be prohibited as part of the final implementation of the roundabout and the bridge and all that.
Okay, so that's a long term when the bridge is done? That's not a short term?
Right. That'll be the final permanent solution.
So we're talking 2 years still for that?
Yeah, I mean, until the bridge finishes up, yeah, and we have the landing done, correct.
Thank you.
Thanks. And again, I think that was one of the things we knew the whole landing was going to be a part of it.
This is way random, referring to downtown. We got summer coming on. One of our viewers had sent us a Facebook post with one of those little scooters, you know, little skinny ones that you ride around on. So we saw that. So one question was, are we having any problems with an overabundance of those? And then
my understanding is they are now coming in, and we need to be planning for that. I agree. This is when I went to the Mayor's Institute for Design. This discussion was there. The lady who one of our people who's working with us, she ran the transportation department for the city of Los Angeles. She had 2,000 people working for her in her department, which is more than twice. That's one department. That's more than twice the people we have for the city of Pensacola. So all departments. So again, we are looking at those, and she talked about we need to be prepared for scooters to come forward, the motorized scooters. So we do expect that to happen. And we expect to see motorized scooters coming here, and we just need to be planning for it. I think this is part of why we need to be looking at more bike lanes, why we need to be looking at making things more walkable. We're going to have these things becoming more and more a part of our community. If you go to big cities, they're already there. People are renting them, and moving forward. We don't, I mean, I think we already need to prepare for bikes, and the scooters will just simply expect to operate much like the bikes. But if we're not prepared for the infrastructure and haven't begun to set up some bike lanes, which we want to do, that's why if I could, I'd love to get these positions hired as fast as possible. So again, I know they're coming, and we need to be better prepared for them. But I think the way they would operate within the bike lanes, that's kind of where I see those scooters going.
So I know we talked a lot about the Jefferson crossing for Maine
Yes.
and making that safer. That was the first time that I had driven it this morning since the news had kind of come out. It's very hard to see that that's a crosswalk. Is there any way we can make that, at least in the short term, better?
Well, I think there are some things. It is painted. I think
I
the
know,
question.
just visually, you don't notice it the way you notice a
What I had asked to do is do we look at something related to some blinking signage like we used to have on Pensacola Beach. If you remember what we had with the crosswalks, there were blinking signage there. I think that's the kind of thing that we need in order for people to see what's happening. It worked on Pensacola Beach. It began to slow traffic down and made people aware that they needed to stop for that. That's kind of the way I want to do it. The one thing I will say is there's a lot of things still talk about how wide it is, and so there is a concern that the street is so wide, and you have that, but you forget one of the reasons the street was that wide is because we used to have a train running right down the middle of Main Street, and for a long time we had a train that ran through the middle of Main Street, and so it's wider. Now the train's been removed, but we still have 56 feet of road width. So, do we find a way to do like they talked about? Do we do angle parking? Allows us to get more parking in, and do we have that? I mean, angle parking though would also help slow down traffic. People trying to get in and out. You see that on Palafox. So again, is this something that we do there? I think we're trying to figure out how to slow it down. That's why I'd like to get some ideas from the engineers as what's the most effective way to narrow it, and certainly, you could say you could move the curb and narrow it, but that's a lot more expensive. I mean, it would create a lot more space for people to walk on the sidewalks, but again, all of this just costs money. So I'd like to find a way we can narrow it and make it safer. Make it more cost effective though in how we do that. And I think having some of those flashing signals might be the way to start.
And one more thing on downtown transportation. I think we had for a while the rental bikes down there, and maybe they went away. Any word about plans to maybe?
I would love to see that. In Pensacola Beach, they came to us one time. I would have loved to have seen one of those things that would allow people to rent bikes. I think we're hitting that critical mass where it should happen both at the beach and in downtown Pensacola. I would welcome, if there's a group that wanted to come here and do that again. I think that'd be a great thing. I think, but again, I think we need to do a little bit. I think probably what's preventing us from getting there is we need to do a little bit better job on our side, is putting in better bike infrastructure for people to go through. Yes.
Thinking traffic, we're working on road diet in Maine more, working on road diet in Cervantes more. At some point, we don't have any more east-west corridors, right? So lots of traffic that goes east to west and uses those, obviously. How does that work in the long run in terms of people who need to cross town, especially rush hour, if those roads go away as fast corridors?
And that's why I think whatever you want to do, you want to look at holistically where you're pushing traffic. One of the things that Keith keeps talking about is the need to reopen government, at least get it. I'm not talking about down at where it intersects with 9th. I'm talking about just get it back open on the west of here. That's an ECUA project that has been going on forever. I met with ECUA back in January, and they said, "Oh, it's going to be done in a month," and we're still not done. That if we get government open, it would really help to the west. It would help open up government and give you another way in and out that should alleviate traffic off Main.
That got a lot of pushback last time from the residents along government.
Hold on. I'm talking about right here out to the west of us. No, yeah, that's what I said real quick. I'm not talking about over on 9th. I'm talking about trying to get it. Right now, we're not open right here in front of ECUA plant. They're still working on some things right there. So that the road is still closed right here. So there's no way to connect east to west there.
Those key positions, assistant administrator, complete streets, is there any more progress since last week?
I mean, I know, I know we're trying to meet with somebody today about still looking at some things from getting HR to bring us 5 names for
Sanitation director will probably be the next one.
okay.
We did some interviewing last night.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
On the 20th.
Okay.
Will be a start
Who's the new
date.
PIO? Get that.
Casey Lagarde will be our new PIO. You know, she will be starting here next month, May 20th of May. So she'll be starting. We are looking forward to at least getting that position filled. And I was not sure where we were on that. She'd asked for the weekend. I hadn't heard from her, so I didn't know.
Notice this morning.
Okay, all right. So we are moving forward with that, and I do want to say we had 3 outstanding internal applicants, but they certainly had all done a good job. But at this time we felt like I thought Casey probably presented as well from an outside strategy as to how we begin to do a little better job of how we present things and keep things moving forward. So I thought her interview was probably the best interview, and she came well prepared. And so I think maybe her time in that position was, but anyways, look forward to having her. And I wasn't prepared to do something today. I wasn't sure whether she was ready to go forward, but
They brought it up.
anyways, we
You
will
want to try
be
to take
moving.
any questions from the journalists that are here?
Yeah,
Do an interpreter?
I'll be happy to take any of their questions.
Очень мало знаем о вашем городе.
Well, we know very little about your wonderful city.
Но у нас, у меня такой вопрос. Вот одноэтажная Америка для вашего города. Это просто бренд такой или рельеф не позволяет построить многоэтажку?
Oftentimes we hear Pensacola is called a small town America. Is it your positioning of the city as a small town America, or you have such a landscape that you cannot build skyscrapers?
Well, I think what ends up happening is it is sort of a demand situation. We're a community of about our city limits are only about 55,000, but the county is about 325,000. And when you look at what's called the MSA from an economic standpoint, because the next county has about 200,000, we're 450, almost 500,000 in MSA. So the factor of what has allowed to build is more a case of really how we've spread out. I would say, we're struggling with some of our own challenges. I think some of, for probably the last 40, 50 years, we've spread out dramatically because of the car. And I think if we came back, we're sort of looking now, some of the questions that we've just taken while you've been here have been, how do we bring development back to the urban core? There are some parcels over here that is vacant, and there's a big vacant parcel just to the west of this building. And that's exactly what we're talking about. How do we bring in more residential, really probably more like not skyscrapers, but probably 5-story residential building in the area. So I think we are trying to bring more people back into where we already have all the infrastructure, and that's what we're trying to do. Good question. But I was told y'all were here. We try to do this on a weekly basis with the press. I also have several groups that I do interviews with. I've got radio here. Andrew, you have radio. We have TV. We have print. So we have almost everybody here except Jim's not here today. Maybe they decided just to watch it online. They're going to go the watching online route. But So we do have most all the different versions of media here. And we are doing all of our own stuff out on social media. So we have a camera there for Facebook as well, social media. And Al, you put this out on YouTube too, right?
I put it on YouTube. Yep, I'll upload it to YouTube.
All right.
Just to follow up to that one, what were your thoughts on the, quote unquote, two skyscrapers proposition?
I was in New York when Jeff first discussed those, and I certainly, I think there's some verticality. I think is nice. I think it was interesting. Those parcels, because of their nature, are going to be difficult only in the sense of figuring out how do you develop it to bring value to them. I think the fact it was interesting that he talked about wanting to go vertical on those two smaller spaces, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, if you had those opportunities to, it would be interesting if you had the opportunity to buy a unit in the condo and be able to watch the games. That would be kind of neat. But again, I think we'd have to see a lot more in detail. But conceptually, I'm not just opposed to it outright. Yes.
So the street planning for the Villiers, A Street, and Bruce. The public comment period is, I think, April 19th. But I was hearing, and actually you're here, and so you can tell me if I'm wrong about this, but did you say at a neighborhood meeting that the plan actually, like, there was a 2019 deadline?
Right, but they can spend the money till 2020. That was something we did not understand initially.
Does that impact anything insofar as, timeline or process?
I think our goal is to get it implemented. If it's implemented into 2020 or 2019, we want to get it implemented.
Does it have to, is there any 2019 deadline now or no?
It sounds like as long as we need to finish the plan in 2019, we may be able to. Thank you all. Thank you. Glad to have you. Hope you enjoy your visit here. I wish Derek was here for that. I don't know the full answer. We can we get him from Derek the full answer about what we could if we need to have those funds spent in 2020 or 2019.
Okay.
But I think the work needs to get done. We need to finish up the plan, and then we'll do the implementation. Good. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, but
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you. You're not, you don't have a dog in fight or whatever. Thoughts on the county's public safety issues going on? Did you know anything about that when you were over there?
Again, I know a lot of the individuals. I think a lot of. I thought the whole time I was there with Mike Weaver, I thought he was a great public safety director. I certainly with Chief Nail, was hoping he was the right person, and certainly liked him. I hate seeing all the disagreement over there on the process. I don't know the details of it. I haven't followed it since I've been over here, so I'm not as up on all the details. I certainly know a lot of the individuals, and things happen. You see things differently. Sometimes there are issues that come up, but the individuals who I knew in that I thought very highly of, and I wish. I certainly wish them the best. They provide those services to our community. We want to make sure they're getting to a point where they get along and it's highly effective. The one thing I will say is I have total confidence in Janice Kilgore. She was there for a long time. I was getting there. She was leaving, and she was finishing up her stead. She certainly did an awful lot for public safety in Escambia County. So, I wish her the best in trying to get the ship righted and encourage her, whatever we can do to help. The city's happy to help any way we can.
What about the concerns raised about the medical director? Have you heard of any
No.
EMS concerns?
I never known any of those one way or the other. We had some challenges with medical directors, as you remember, as we went through. We kept trying to get we had some different ones that we did, and I know that's important. I did not know the current medical director as well. They came on shortly as I was getting ready to leave.
For UWF for Founders Week,
Yes.
we've got the Cyber HQ opening up tonight. To what degree, it seemed like it used to be more of a push to integrate UWF into downtown more, like that was kind of a developing thing that's, I'm not sure that's happening as much anymore. Is that something that's important to you to make happen more, instead of them being the place up there north of 9 Mile?
Absolutely. I mean, we want to integrate UWF as much as we can. I mean, we have the historic area downtown, the village, and several other things. Bringing cyber downtown, we are very excited about that. We would absolutely. I know that one time there was a significant restore request. I mean, a Triumph request to bring a campus on the technology site. So all of those things would be beneficial to us. I think the more UWF does downtown, the better it is all the way around. The better it is for us in terms of talent and creating talent, and certainly in retaining it. I think there's an energy that comes from having all ages across our community working together, and I think some of the energy that UWF and their students bring is a good thing for us.
Did you guys look at doing a Founders Week thing down here of any kind with them, or did they approach you about that at all?
No, I mean, I know last year I participated in it at the TT Wentworth. I think they had asked me about doing it this time, except I've already had commitments. Like I said, tonight I've got ST is in town, and we want to talk about Hangar 2 and getting started, so I had already had that commitment. Sometimes I feel like if we had more hours in the day and more days of the week, I could get it more done. But there's only so much time. They're still working on trying to clone me upstairs. So when that happens, I'll be happy.
And I will say, as part of the position team approach, Grover, myself, and Martha Saunders met about an hour and discussed some really great information about connecting and partnering together as part of our plan for the position team. So
Yeah.
We had a great meeting together discussing that.
Yeah, I think for our economic, I mean, UWF participating more down here is a good thing. I mean, doing the cyber is a good thing, and we're excited about that. I mean, do we, I'd love to have seen the Triumph request happen, and they have more of a campus down here. I mean, that all those would be good things.
Do you think it'll be more of a wait until UWF comes down here and wants to do something? Is the city actively courting?
We're talking to them about what we can do. I mean, the challenge is funding for what they can do. I mean, they can only do where they can get into. I mean, the good thing was there's a large building that they could had available to bring down. I, again, very much appreciate Quentin Rishi finding a way to get them down here. So I think that's a good thing. I mean, the part that prevents Martha from wanting to have more buildings down here is simply money and opportunity. So I think she would love to be down here more, and we'd love to have her down here. So when we've talked those things, I think we would encourage that in any way we could.
I mean, the city traditionally has a lot of surplus property, right?
We have property, we don't have buildings.
Does the property come into play at all? It's a conversation.
I mean, we all were looking at the tech park. I mean, that's stuff we could have done right there. I mean, so we have property. The challenge is building the building.
I mean, that seems like the ideal place for them to have their cyber program, but it was just funding for the building was the hangup.
That was it. I mean, we'd love to have that, and I think, again, anytime you build a building, it takes time. The great thing about the Studer property is it allows them to implement now, get people down here now, without having to worry about building a building. I think if they come in here and they start working and they start building something, the good news is that as the program builds, as more people come down here, then it provides, okay, we've sustained in a leased facility, now we can look at somewhere housing our own stuff. So, one way or the other, they're gonna need funding to build the additional buildings if they decide to do that. But we would totally encourage that. We think the relationship we have with UWF here for not just the city of Pensacola, but really all of Northwest Florida, is a great relationship, and we absolutely support it. We support it and Pensacola State.
Mr. Mayor, speaking of buildings, I know it's a federal building, but do we have any idea when they're gonna complete the federal building at Gordon and Palafox?
Oh, the courthouse, again,
Yeah.
it would be nice when it did. We have a significant sidewalk both on Garden and Palafox that are now sort of cordoned off because of it. So we'd love to have it finished. I know they're in the middle of that work, and I know they want to get it done as fast as possible. So I will say this much at least: it was a good-looking building before. But now with the sandstone, it's going to look like it's going to look like a building that's going to be there for hopefully a long period of time. And I hope they solve the leak problems and everything gets done in there correctly. So I know they're starting to put in some windows. I saw the outside skin appears that it should be finishing up soon. And hopefully at that point they'll get the windows in and start drying it in. And we'll get our sidewalks back opened up, but I don't have a date. It's kind of like working with ECUA on Government Street. I keep being told dates, and then they go on. But that sometimes happens in construction. You just things go a little bit longer than you expect.
Well, I know that it takes time. I'm from the old school, and I've been upset ever since St. Carlos Hotel left. They're still working there, and I often think that. Thought that maybe St. Carlos could have been a historical site that could have been renovated. I mean, it was just a thought till I saw the and I passed there a lot in my going and comings, and it just seemed like it's just gonna be. I said, I wonder will I be around when they.
I do think it's hard to believe that structure. I know went up. Golly, it's almost been up 20 years. But. For whatever reason, they never could get things sealed, and they had the leak and the mold problem. So hopefully this time they've got it fixed. It's an expensive building, and now with that sandstone in there, it's gonna look real good. They got a lot of money into that building. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for.